Welcome to everything you need to know about Sea of Thieves, the series for new fans and old that covers every aspect of the Sea of Thieves lore. Throughout the series, we'll cover the people, the factions, the events, the locations, and more to make sure you always understand what is going on. This week we're covering the second trading company, the Merchant Alliance. We'll go over key individuals, their origins, how they function, and trivia that you probably don't know. So let's begin. The Merchant Alliance was the second official trading company on the Sea of Thieves. We know this because in the Heart of Fire novel, the crew of the Morning Star were already ferrying cargo for them. The Order of Souls at this point was still setting up all their tents in the same book. Madame Olivia is also much younger than either of the leaders of the other trading companies. The origins of the Merchant Alliance pretty much encompasses the story of Chief Trader Molly, the representative you should recognise from Sanctuary Outpost. Unlike the Gold Hoarder himself, you will understand both her company's origins and her backstory from this one video. Most of this is covered in the Sea of Thieves Origins comic, The Bonds of Union. Molly's story occurs some time ago. Molly was never from a well-off family, juxtaposing her super wealthy status from today. In an attempt to make something of herself, she joins up with the Grand Maritime Union as an apprentice on one of their vessels. Molly describes herself as a fast talker and states that the GMU representatives would see her trampled or ignored on the account of her being a young brown woman. Quite the contrary happened. The sailors liked Molly as she was keen to help the sailors out with their duties. The ship owners themselves saw sailing as below them. It makes sense too, as that's what the sailors were employed to do. Keep in mind, Molly is not employed as a sailor, but as a trader. In fraternising with the sailors, they would teach Molly tricks that would allow her to deliver cargo much quicker than her fellow traders. Her superiors begged her for secrets and scoffed when they found out what she'd been doing. On the other hand, while Molly was getting on well with the merchant sailors, the same tack did not work with the various pirates she encountered. This led to them butting heads with her on various occasions. She knew she could buy these men, but the pirates simply didn't care. Molly's job also extended to squashing the competition. She would often meet with the local traders and attempt to recruit them to work under the GMU. If they refused, she threatened to put them out of business. Molly believed that a lot of the men she challenged became petulant when they were threatened by a young brown woman. It's worth noting, this story rings very similar to Humphrey the Hoarder, who we covered in the last episode. In fact, Molly was so good at this, her employers, Lord Havish and Winston, were so impressed they promoted her to junior trader and asked her to complete a special mission. Molly bit their hand off, despite not really understanding the danger of the mission ahead. Molly, being the expert sailor at this point and remained close with the crew, understood that the GMU ship were too large to fit through the passage. The maps indicated that the giant ships needed to thread a needle. When this was brought up to her superiors, they simply laughed in her face. The idea of ships sailing in a single line, leaving their flanks unprotected, was absurd. Little did they know, nor Molly knew, the powers of the Devil's Shroud, for this was indeed an exploration to the fabled Sea of Thieves. It went as well as you'd expect, and despite Molly's best efforts, many of the ships were ripped apart by the Shroud, including the souls who crewed them. Molly and the crew struggled to keep the ship afloat, but due to the thoroughly competent crew, the ship was the only one to make it through the Shroud. As the ship arrived in the Sea of Thieves, a couple of galleons crewed by pirates approached. At first, they appeared to be friendly, until Molly's employers spoke up. They threatened the pirates that if they touched any of their cargo, the GMU would hunt them down. This didn't go down swimmingly with the pirates. Molly watched as 3 female pirates took out 3 Union men twice their size, with ease. As Molly had never been allowed to study sword fighting, she was helpless. When the captain boarded, there was no fight in any of the crew. The sailors joined the pirates, leaving only Molly and the 2 GMU superiors alone. With the ship surrendered, they rowed over to a nearby island and watched as the ship was plundered and subsequently scuttled. The Grand Maritime Union's grand voyage had been a total failure, with the last ship being claimed by the Sea of Thieves. As the 3 survivors rested that night, Molly awoke to see she had been abandoned. The ever-resourceful Molly managed to survive for a while from how she had observed fishing whilst on the ships, along with being able to light fires through refraction using her specs. Eventually, a pair of pirates came by, 2 women on a brig. They asked her why she did not swim out and get a mermaid to take her to shore. Molly, of course, didn't know the mermaids existed. Luckily, Molly quickly hit it off with Ebony and Catcher. The 3 would hatch a plan to take on a big heist, vying to steal the GMU cargo back from the pirates who took it. In a surprise attack, the crews skirmish, with Molly and company coming out on top. As there was too much cargo to carry, they tied the crates together and chucked them in the harbour, so that they would float to their ship. Making their escape, Molly bumps into one of her ex-employers, who'd just made a deal with the captain to get his cargo back. Molly, taking revenge on her employer for abandoning her, shoots him with a flintlock pistol, declaring she is now Chief Trader Molly. Molly took the goods and sold them to a merchant, who was surprised that the GMU could get the cargo into the Sea of Thieves. Molly corrected him, stating it was the Merchant Alliance who had done this, beginning a partnership and the trading company we know today. The first profits were used to set up the trading post at Sanctuary Outpost, and eventually the operation expanded into contract work. Pirates would be the freelancers and ship the cargo for Molly, starting with small jobs and eventually taking on bigger roles when relationships were cemented. And that summarises how the Merchant Alliance came to be. Whilst no exact function is known, the cargo seems to have been stolen from merchants and the GMU in the wider world, and sold to the Merchant Alliance. Inhabitants will place their orders with the traders, where pirates will ship it to the requester. The animals are found naturally in the Sea of Thieves, but the rum, plants, and silks are imported. The Merchant Alliance is in direct competition with the Gold Hoarders, unlike the Order of Souls, who have a relationship based on mutual benefit. In more recent times, Chief Trader Molly has raised their suspicions about the Sovereigns, a group of aristocrats who open up their dock in Season 7, which occurs roughly 4 years after the events of the game begin. She suspects the Sovereigns are working for the Grand Maritime Union, based on their clothing, speech, and the way they offer their service for free. However, she is happy to accept their services as long as they continue to spurn the Reaper's bones. As for the key individuals, the only one of note is Molly herself, as the founding member of the Merchant Alliance. It remains to be the most underdeveloped out of the trading companies, as it doesn't really prominently feature in the novels or comics outside of the Bonds of Union. The other members, Katya and Ebony, do see more development, but we'll cover them in another episode. Without spoiling too much, it's pretty epic. It also fits much better with the episode it will be included in. You'll understand when you see it. The Merchant Alliance is one of the 2 companies to be made up from entirely female members. Whilst the Gold Hoarders are not explained, Molly most likely only hires females based on her own experience of discrimination when trying to make something of herself. To this day, no known male members of the Merchant Alliance exist. The Order of Souls does have unofficial members that are male, but we'll cover that in the next episode. Sticking with the traders, all of the traders have the same rank aside from Molly. Mildred, Mavis, Mandy, Meg, Maureen, and Matilda all hold the rank of Senior Trader. This is unique when compared to the other trading companies, as the hierarchy is clearly shown within the representatives. The Merchant Ambassador Sales and Hull hints that Molly has adapted the designs of the Grand Maritime Union to her liveries. This could be for a number of reasons. It could be mockery, a nod to her background, or even something more sinister. According to Senior Trader Mandy, the Merchant Alliance is the first and oldest trading company, but we know through subsequent lore and expanded media that this is not true. The Gold Hoarders are clearly in operation in the Bonds of Union comic, as the merchant laments having to work with the Gold Hoarders. The Gold Hoarders were also fully established 20 years after the discovery of the Sea of Thieves. Madame Olivia is much younger than Molly based on appearances, and this then suggests the Merchant Alliance are the second trading company to form. Some of the dialogue options for the traders confirm they work in other goods, but this is not for our ears to know. And that wraps up all you need to know about the Merchant Alliance. They're a pretty light topic compared to the Gold Hoarders and Order of Souls, the latter of which will be coming in a week's time. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like and don't forget to subscribe for a new episode every week, as well as more variety content and news midweek. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.